And welcome back to another edition of Is This a Great Game or What? With the Hall of Famer Tim Kurkjian. I'm his son, Jeff Kurkjian. And Dad, I know it's been a busy week before we get into baseball. You have been dealing with grandkids, back to school, and Carson, your oldest grandchild's first day of kindergarten. How old does that make you feel?
It was so good, Jeff. Carson is 5. He got on the bus on Monday for a practice day to make sure all the kindergartners knew how to get on the bus, how to get to school, what to do when they get off. Yesterday, Tuesday, we're taping this on Wednesday, was his first day on the real bus, and all the other kids from the neighborhood, fifth graders included, were on the bus. It was just priceless. He had the best time. And it just warms my heart to see him on the bus like that. Jeff, I'm sorry I wasn't there for you getting on the bus the first time. Of course I was. It was so great. Do you remember those days?
Yes. And it's so funny. There's a picture of me, Jia Zhang, and Kara Langston on the curb waiting for our first day of kindergarten. And then the three of us took a picture at high school graduation. Gosh,
really?
13 years later, there's a picture of that. So we've got our little lunch boxes, and then we're in our graduation robes, which is so crazy, Dad. And I know you're joking, but you also need to realize that Tim Kurkjian, Hall of Fame baseball writer, would pick me up from the school bus on a ride-on mower and would mow me back to our house. This is not one time. This is multiple times. Adam Sandler-esque.
Jeff,
the water boy style picking me up.
Jeff, I went to the bus stop and picked you up every day that I was home when you were a kid. I packed your lunch every day from kindergarten all the way through high school. Every day. That's what I love to do. And now I get to do the same thing with my grandson, Carson. And at the same time, Emma, his little sister, our granddaughter, who's 3, same age as McKinley Hope. Emma had to go to a different class now in the same school. She's in pre-K. And so it was an adjustment for her. And then today, Wednesday, we're taping on Wednesday, we realized she forgot her lunchbox at school yesterday. So for the second time in her life, she brought a Get Smart lunchbox into preschool. It was just priceless. And I showed Carson and Emma the whole story of Get Smart. He's talking on his shoe phone. She's 3 years old. It was so funny. Sorry.
Yeah, and I know that when she brought that lunchbox to lunch and people were like, Emma, what do you have? She said, would you believe a banana? It's too good. It was right there for me.
Right
Dad,
there, Jeff.
I want to take a second to thank everybody who went and subscribed. We had a big kick in YouTube subscribers, Dad, after our live event with Michael Brown. A lot of people who were there that were introduced to the show for the first time. But if you're listening right now, go on YouTube and subscribe to us there. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you find us on the podcast too, so you can take us with you, whether you're driving, mowing the lawn, whatever it might be. So many different ways to be in touch with our show. Every episode since the dawn of this podcast back in 2024 have been videoed. So we want you to take a minute, subscribe, like, leave us a comment here on YouTube, or follow if you're listening on the audio stream as well. Really trying to up those YouTube numbers, and we're having a lot of fun doing this. So glad we survived the first couple days of school, Dad. It's never easy. My daughter, McKinley Hope, will go to her first day of pre-K on September 8th. So I'm just holding back the tears for now until we get to that day.
Jeff, there were many, many tears on the bus stop the other day, including from Pop-Pop. But I'll never forget when Kelly went 30 years ago to kindergarten for the first time. She was weeping as she walked to the bus, and I almost just pulled her off the bus and said, it's okay, you can stay home today. So she went around the corner, and she's absolutely in tears as she leaves. But the first stop on the bus stop, she picks up her cousin Lane, and they come right back through. And Kelly is having the greatest time. So the weeping only lasted about 90 seconds, and everything is okay. So that's the lesson for our little kids. They have a little bit of trouble early, and then they recover. McKinley Hope will be the same way, but you will still cry no matter what. I promise you that.
No doubt about it. Dad, in honor of Cal Ripken Jr.'s birthday last week, I believe it was, you did, or was that earlier this week? Was that the
No,
first?
It was Monday. Monday was his birthday, August the 24th. And on Monday's episode, Jeff, I did the all street team. Ripken, of course, is the shortstop. Gehrig's at first, Nellie Fox at second. But we left it open to our really, really clever listeners and followers about what should we do about the pitcher, because there's so many ways you could go, like consecutive complete games or consecutive starts without missing a start, which was hard to check. But more than, I would say, several people wrote in and said it's got to be a reliever pitching 13 games in a row, which is the record. Mike Marshall in 1974 and then Dale Mahorsic in 1986. They both pitched in 13 games in a row. So we've decided that was the best choice. We left it open on purpose. Of course, I remember Mike Marshall well. He was at the top of my list, but I wanted our guests to come up and our listeners to come up with the best choice of pitcher. You agree with that one?
No doubt, Dad. And this is what makes our listeners so incredible, that they were able to find this and jump right on it, Dad. They're the best. Members of the family are a special group of people. That's what we call people who listen to the show, by the way, members of the family.
Right.
And unlike the actual Kurkjian family, members of this family are more than welcome to be over 6 feet tall.
Right. Bill Flanagan, who's one of our real best contributors, Bill also wrote to me that Dale Mahorsic, who didn't pitch in the big leagues, I think until he was like 33. He was like a 33-year-old rookie. So he banged around pretty good. I didn't know this, but Bill said that Dale Mahorsic once got caught with sandpaper in his glove. And in order to hide it, he ate it. So he ate a piece of sandpaper so the umpires wouldn't see him, and he swallowed it. And then he got he had to go to the hospital. He had internal bleeding because he ate a piece of sandpaper. Oh boy. So thanks to all of our listeners and our viewers and everything for contributing. It was really fun. And again, when they're involved, it makes them feel even more a part of our family. So very, very good.
And a lot of people have been asking about our hats that I've been wearing, the Great Gamer What caps. Here, I have one here. Hold on. And we're going to be working on getting these sold on the Foul Territory shop. So, Dad, these are exclusive to our great event we just have. I ordered a whole bunch of them, so I have some left over from our event. So we're going to do an exclusive sale of these online, and I cannot wait to make this happen for you. So make sure that you're subscribed right now so you don't miss it. Follow wherever you're listening, and I'll make sure when that link goes live, the very first people to hear about it are going to be members of the family. You have to make sure to be following or subscribing for your chance, and maybe I'll even do a giveaway for new subscribers and new followers if you want to be a part of that. It's going to be a great time selling those hats. Our first merch drop, Dad. It's going to be really exciting.
Great. Well, Jeff, you're really good at explaining these things. You must be on the radio or something, because I'm sure you do this every day, but you're way better at that than I am. That's for sure.
Well, Dad, I mean, I have had quite the ringer of a day. Speaking of radio, country music star Dolly Parton died. I'm a country music morning show host, so I have been on the radio, on local TV, explaining the importance of Dolly Parton's legacy, and we just found out moments before hitting record here, Tim Curry also died. And they say these celebrities come in threes. Yeah, Dad, I didn't want to make you really sad about that, but mere moments before hitting record on this August the 26th, Wednesday afternoon, Tim Curry passed away also at the age of 80. So it's really sad. And he was so essential, Dad, to so many great shows and movies that you grew up watching.
And Jeff, seriously, part of our job, especially my job as an old man, is to make sure when somebody dies that everyone remembers who that person was, because a lot of young people didn't know who Tommy John was. Willie Mays, Hank Aaron. When these people die, I feel responsible to make sure that they are sent off properly, and everybody just knows how great a player, how great a person, whatever they are. I really think it's important to do that, and you did it today with Dolly Parton. I'm proud of you for that.
Yeah, it's so important, Dad. And I've seen you do it a number of times with incredible Major League Baseball players, Hall of Famers at that. You are etching in history to make sure people realize the legacy that they left.
It's time to remind everyone why baseball is glorious, especially nowadays where you could think your team is out of it, but they might be back in it again. Let me introduce you to the American League Wild Card, KP, and let's tell everyone why they might need to head back to SeatGeek, grab some more tickets for what is a playoff race before the playoffs actually begin.
Well, speaking about being out of it, I'm an American League East guy, and I'm talking to you, Toronto fans. I'm talking to you, Baltimore fans. A couple weeks ago, probably not a reason to come out to the games. Look at the standings right now. Both of you teams are right back in this wild card race.
Rangers fans. We can go on and on. Mariners fans, you might be feeling a little queasy, but you're still in this thing too. So all of you should head to SeatGeek and get yourself 10% off your next set of MLB tickets. 10% off MLB tickets with the promo code Territory10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so that you can use it later.
All right, Dad, let's go to the takeaways across Major League Baseball. What do you got for us?
Well, I got a good look at the Brewers on Sunday in Williamsport. And we talked a lot about the Brewers because they have the best record in baseball. They're the best team in baseball. They're the most fundamentally sound team in baseball. They play the game more correctly, I believe, than any team in baseball. That's why they win. As you know, Jeff, best record and fewest home runs. So that just doesn't line up in this environment. But the Brewers are doing that. The last team to finish a regular season with the most wins and the fewest homers was the 1959 White Sox. So that's where the Brewers are potentially headed. And does it encourage you like it does me, Jeff, that they've gone a different route? They don't have to hit the ball out of the ballpark to beat you. Is that not good to see?
Who would have thought that just swinging for the fences wasn't the only way to win baseball games? I mean, for years, baseball's been around forever. Small ball can win. Pitching and getting on base is the way to win championships. Am I wrong?
No,
get on
I
base.
think you're right.
That's how you score runs.
I think you're right, Jeff. All right. And the other thing that happened with the Brewers, and I've got to be careful with this, but Pat Murphy, their manager, who's two-time manager of the year, last 2 years, has done an absolutely fantastic job with that team. He's 67 years old, but his wisdom is absolutely everywhere. So the other day, Cooper Pratt, one of his young players, 22 years old, a big-time prospect, a major leaguer who's going to be really, really good one day. He did not run out a pop-up, not knowing if it was going to be fair or foul. He didn't run it out properly. And Pat Murphy benched him, took him out of the game, and showed everyone this is unacceptable behavior for any player, but especially for a 22-year-old. And I remember when I covered the Orioles millions of years ago, Earl Weaver, one of the great managers of all time, once told me, and I've used this before, baseball's the hardest game in the world to play, he told me. Everything you have to do on the field is hard, except running as hard as you can every time you're asked to or you're supposed to. And you don't even have to run fast. You just have to run as fast as you can. And Cooper Pratt did not. And I'm not picking on him. I'm trying to make a point, Jeff, that if you set an example, the manager says, no, this is, you're not doing this. The manager sends the right message and everyone gets it after that. Agreed?
Yeah, got to set the example on the field there. I think it's so important. And on a note, Dad, I saw your interviews with both managers while you were in Williamsport, and I just loved the look on both of their faces when you asked them both What was it like when you saw your players going down the big hill? Because you got two very interesting answers. One was, go ahead and do it. And the other one was, don't tell me I don't want to see it. And I'll let anybody decide which manager said which. I thought it were very interesting perspective on both managers. Same question, very different answers.
Right. Walt Weiss said, look, I don't want to know. Just
right.
Go. And Pat Murphy said, whatever you want to do, go ahead. Again, different ways of managing everything. Those guys are both really good. Speaking of those Braves, I had a long talk with Walt Weiss. Jeff, I had almost forgotten how many injuries that team has had this year, especially to their starting rotation, Spencer Strider and others. I didn't forget. It just reminded me again that it's an amazing thing that the Braves are in first place in their division over your Phillies with everything that's gone wrong. And I don't know if Spencer Strider is going to come back this year. I know that's a long shot, but we'll see about that. But Walt Weiss and the Braves deserve a lot of credit for hanging in there and being where they are based on everything that they've been through. So good for the Braves, and them and the Brewers at Williamsport was really fun teams to watch. Mm-hmm. And speaking of fun teams, Jeff, the White Sox have now won 11 games via walk-off, okay? Wow. The Cubs with 13 are the only ones with more. The White Sox have 5 walk-off home runs this year. That ties the club record for the most in any season in White Sox history. And I'm sure they're going to get another one because they are a young, hungry, exciting team, and they are really fun to watch. And don't forget, Jeff, 2 years ago, they were 80 games under 500, 80. And now they have a real shot to win the division. The beauty of baseball, though, right, Jeff? It just, things can shift and change just so easily. Agree?
It's the craziest part. I mean, and you never know who's going to have those records, right? It's crazy to me to think the amount of runs the Nationals have scored this year and their run differential, and you would never have predicted that given their current record. They're scoring a lot of runs. It just means that not always is it about who has the most X, Y, and Z that leads to the most wins. Not all the time.
Right. And speaking of turnarounds, the Red Sox went from 14 games under 500 to 14 games over 500 in only 62 days. And that is the second fewest days any team has ever taken to go from 14 under to 14 over. The 1914 Boston Braves, known as the Miracle Braves, went from 14 under to 14 over in only 59 days. That is the record. And the Braves won the World Series that year. And the Red Sox, who knows? I think a winnable American League. Why can't they go to the World Series with this team? It looks like Roman Anthony's going to come back in September. We'll see how that goes, but just another amazing story coming out of the Red Sox.
Dad, have you seen the records of the teams in the AL Central? Have you seen
I have.
The records of the teams in the AL Central?
I have.
What is going on with the American League?
Jeff, nothing makes any sense in the American League. For instance, the Royals at this taping had won 9 games in a row, okay? They started their 9-game-in-a-row streak like 20 games under 500. So the last team to win 9 games in a row or more, having started that streak at 20 games under 500, was the 2003 Brewers, who won 10 in a row. So it's been 23 years since any team has been this bad for this long in a season and then rips off 9 wins in a row. It just speaks to the unpredictable nature of this game, which is what makes it so beautiful.
Right.
And speaking of unpredictable, Jeff, Mason Miller, the unhittable closer for the Padres, the red hot Padres, gave up a homer the other day to O'Neill Cruz in the 9th inning. And they lost the game 1-0. And it ended a streak of Mason Miller's 76 2/3 innings without a home run allowed, which is just remarkable in this day and age where the ball flies out of the ballpark when it's not being, it's not strike 3. So Mason Miller finally gave up a homer. I didn't think that was possible with as hard as he throws.
Right. And we never thought it was going to happen at this point with how great he's been. It's been insane.
Yeah, so good.
Bella, 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 where? I don't know where Bella is, but I know how to take care of my pup.
Kratz, while you find Bella, today's episode is sponsored by the ASPCA Pet Health Insurance Program. The ASPCA Pet Health Insurance Program offers customizable accident and illness plans that can fit your budget, your lifestyle, and even your pet's particular quirks. Because let's be honest, vet bills can add up fast. And when it's time to submit a claim, it's easy. Just use their app and receive reimbursement for eligible vet bills directly into your bank account so you can get back to focusing on what really matters, your pet. To explore coverage, visit aspcapetinsurance.com/FOUL. That's aspcapetinsurance.com/FOUL. This is a paid advertisement. Insurance is underwritten by either Independence American Insurance Company or United States Fire Insurance Company and produced by PTZ Insurance Agency Limited. The ASPCA is not an insurer and is not engaged in the business of insurance.
All right, Dad, what are today's Quirkjians here on the podcast?
Well, we have to go back to Williamsport on Sunday night. Matt Olson, really, really good player, had a difficult night. He struck out 3 times. He grounded into 2 double plays, and he made an error. So the last player to have 3 punch-outs, 2 GIDPs, and an error was Travis Fryman, another really good player in 1999. And, it came in the Little League ballpark where Matt Olson had such a great time talking to the kids, and then he had a difficult night. Again, great player, bad night. Doesn't happen like this in other sports. But it also reminded me, Jeff, of one thing that I check in the box scores every day. And this is religiously every day. And when I find the next time it happens or the only other time it happens, I'm gonna celebrate at 5:00 in the morning. Okay. It's called a reverse triple double. And that's someone who has 2 strikeouts, 2 grounded into double plays, and 2 errors in the same game.
The reverse triple double is what you're going to call it.
Yes, that's what I've called it this for years. Kurt Babakwa in 1978 with the Rangers is the only player in Major League history to have one of those, of course, since GIDPs became official. So I check for that. Every time I see somebody who has 2 GIDPs, I check to see if he's got 2 strikeouts and 2 errors, which is obviously really hard to do. But Matt Olson came pretty close. 3 strikeouts, 2 GIDPs, and an error. It's just a statistical quirky thing, and Matt Olson will be a great player the next day. That's how it works.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Cal Raleigh, Jeff, who was hitting 159 at the time, had a 3-homer game the other night. So the Elias looked up that it was the seventh lowest batting average ever by someone who had a 3-homer game. So Kirk Neuenhuis for the 2015 Mets was batting 106 when he had a 3-homer game. Is that amazing to you?
106? Are you kidding?
Yeah. You would think someone hitting 106 is not capable of getting 3 hits, let alone
it's not capable of being in the lineup.
Right, Jeff. And I was amazed by this. In 1935, Babe Ruth was hitting 153 when he had his final 3-homer game of his career. Yeah. Now, it was the end of his career. He was done, all that stuff. But Babe Ruth, who knew he would ever hit 153 even as an old man playing in another league? But that's what he did. So, and Jeff, I was really taken by what the Mariners. The Mariners lost 22-0 the other day, as you know, and then the Phillies, and then they lost by 17 runs soon after that. So they became the first team since the 1933 Phillies to lose 2 games by at least 17 runs in a 6-game span. Most teams don't lose by 17 for years and years. The Mariners did it twice in a 6-day span, and they're somehow still in the playoff race. It's just unbelievable. Baseball is so beautiful. And speaking of that, Jeff, so Randy Arozarena hit a leadoff homer again the other day. So that gave him, in a 2-game span, 2 leadoff homers and 1 walk-off homer. And he's the second player in Major League history during a 2-game stretch to have 2 leadoff homers and a walk-off homer. And it was 5 days earlier, Pete Crow-Armstrong became the first player ever to do that. And then Randy Arozarena became the second player ever to do that. And they did it in the same week. Jeff, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I was watching you on Baseball Tonight, Dad, and you had a little bit of a voice crack there. You were saying Pete Crow-Armstrong was the first, and now we're doing it again. Like, I know you got really excited about that, but I mean, it's true. We can wait hundreds of years for something to happen, and they're going to happen twice in a week. What?
Right. Only in baseball can that happen. Okay. Taj Bradley had an immaculate inning for the Twins, and we're told it's at least the last 25 years. It's the first immaculate inning by any Twins pitcher. Because after, 25 years ago, it was really hard to check this, and the Elias and others are not checking something that they can't confirm 100%. But immaculate inning, Jeff, we're clear on what an immaculate inning is, and we're clear that it's okay. 9 pitches, 3 strikes per batter, 3 strikeouts, right? That's it, right?
That's it. There's no debate here. That's it. I like to think.
Right.
I think we're landing the plane.
Right. Contact is allowed. You could hit 440-foot foul balls, but as long as three batters strike out on a total of 9 pitches, we're all good with that, right?
1,000%. Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
We don't need to get the commissioner, Mike Shore, on this. I think it's agreed.
Yes, totally. All right. You know how much I love names, Jeff. This is a real stretch, but Jansen Junk faced Jacob Young the other day in Marlins Nationals game. So we had Young Junk against each other. What do we have at our house, Jeff? We have a lot of old junk, right? Right. I
had no idea where you were going with
young
this.
Junk.
Young Junk sounds like a rapper in this day and age. Young Junk's going on tour with Jay-Z. Hova.
Well, I love that. I also love that the Rockies on consecutive days, they made a roster move, and Mason Adams was called up and Blake Adams was sent down. So Blake Adams made his major league debut. Didn't go very well. He was optioned back to the minor leagues, and they recalled Mason Adams, who made his major league debut. So 2 pitchers with the same last name appeared in back-to-back days, making their major league debut. Do you find that interesting?
I find it very, very fascinating. And nobody loves names more than Tim Kurkjian. That's for sure. And I've already mentioned it. I got a text from both of my in-laws, the grandparents on the other side, talking about Kinley pitching in the Little League World Series, and McKinley was very confused and unimpressed. She thinks she's the only one named Kinley or McKinley on the face of the earth. I was like, she's not understanding, folks. Don't go there.
Right. And speaking of names, Jeff, Amy Green, who's one of our real good contributors and listeners and followers, she wrote the nicest note to us, the nicest email, that Merrill Kelly of the Diamondbacks face Carson Kelly of the Cubs. So and she said, and this is just for Kelly Kurkjian, your sister. How nice is that?
I loved that matchup because usually we're looking for young junk, and in this case, she was looking out for something else, which is so great. I love that she found that because it definitely made every single Kurkjian smile that she was thinking of the Wally Pip of, is this a great game or what? Wait, am I... Right. No, she's Wally Pip, right? I'm Lou Gehrig in this hypothetical, right? Because I'm the one getting replaced.
Yeah, you are Wally Pip, Jeff. All right.
Wait, Wally Pip. Oh yes, Wally Pip was replaced by Lou Gehrig. She's Lou Gehrig. So I mean, I was going to say
you haven't been Wally pipped because even though Kelly was great in her one turn on the air, she hasn't made a return until you have another baby. So I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, right?
No, not according to my wife. That's for sure. But we also have to keep in mind that she was texting saying she had an idea for a segment she wants to do, and if I ever wanted to take a day off, I could. And I'm like, whoa, slow your roll, okay? I'm not calling you saying I'm going to design some wedding invites for you. Don't worry, you can take the day off, Kel. She has, on a side note, and obviously we do not gain financial advantage on this, but my sister Kelly is an incredible designer, and I think one regret I had was not taking the minute to promote her business, Kelly Joyce Design, in the DC area. She can do it anywhere for anybody across the country. Design wedding invites, things for day of, right? Table numbers, save the dates, all that stuff. She's a super talented designer. And so if you're looking for something, Kelly Joyce Design, just Google it, and maybe she can handle your wedding stuff. She did mine, and it was incredible. She does all of her friends. It's so amazing what she's done with that business. Okay, I'm done praising Kelly Kurkjian. Sorry about that.
And we'll finish with Kelly. Kelly's a great artist. Her dad is not. Fill in the joke. Fill in the blank.
He used to put my art on the inside of the refrigerator.
You could have sold it a little better than that. My mom hung my artwork on the inside of the refrigerator. Okay, that's enough. We move on.
On this date in baseball history, Dad, what do you got for us? Take it away.
Well, on this date in 1978, Joe Morgan hit his 200th home run to become the first player ever to have 200 homers and 500 stolen bases. Joe Morgan is one of the three greatest second basemen of all time. As Jim Palmer once told me, the Big Red Machine didn't become the Big Red Machine until Joe Morgan showed up. That's how good Joe Morgan was. He's about 5'7", had tremendous power, tremendous base runner, great defensive second baseman. We lost Joe too young, but again, I wrote his obituary, and that's what we need to do when our great players pass. On this date in 2005, Jeff Kent became the first Hall of Famer. Jeff Kent became the first player to hit 300 home runs as a second baseman. He's got the most homers ever by a second baseman. On this date in 1961, Mike Maddox was born. I've told a couple of Mike Maddox stories. Do you remember either one of them about Greg Maddox's older brother?
I can't remember.
He did something in golf, Jeff. He did something in golf one day that was
2 hole-in-ones in a day?
In one round.
In one round, that's right. That's what I thought.
I was there when he showed his scorecard to like other guys on the team. I'm like, oh my gosh. Mike Maddox also, when he was the Brewers pitching coach, they had one of these like Rorschach tests. I told you this story, Jeff, where you look at a picture that's got, there's jumbled stuff all over the place. And you have to tell what you see within all of these shapes and everything in the picture. And I guess the really clever, really observant people who have a different lens than the rest of us could see a gorilla in the picture. And like the only guy who saw it was Mike Maddox. So they show him this picture and they said, "What do you see?" And he goes, "Well, what's that giant gorilla doing there?" It was the first thing he saw. He saw it immediately. So I don't know what that means. I just know that those Maddox boys, Greg and Mike, are just wired differently and frankly better than most people because of the things that they see, the things that they can process. It's pretty impressive. Mike wasn't the pitcher that Greg was, but Mike Maddox was one of the best pitching coaches I know that I've ever been around.
Have you ever had to do one of those tests? Because I did one, Dad, and I couldn't see the gorilla. It was driving me bananas. I could not figure it out.
All right.
There was a big gaping hole in the middle, and I couldn't see it.
All right, Jeff. On this date in 1970, Jim Thome was born. Jim Thome, former Philly, former many teams, of course, Cleveland Indians at the time. Let's see if you know what record he holds when it comes to home runs, Jeff. He hit over 600 homers. What distinction does he have over everyone else in Major League history, including Ryan Zimmerman and Stan
I know
Musial?
this. Right. He has the most walk-off home runs in history, right?
Right. How
13?
Many for Jim Thome? 13.
Yes!
Way to go, Jeff. I am so proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Right. Now, Jeff, also, Jim told me the story when he was growing up in Chicago. I know I've told you this story. but Dave Kingman was like his guy. He loved Dave Kingman. And he went to a Cubs game at Wrigley, and somehow Jim Thome like got into the Cubs dugout like 5 minutes before the game starts. It was like an 8-10-year-old kid in the dugout, and he goes up and just shakes, like meets Dave Kingman. And Kingman had to say, look, that's great, kid, but you got to get out of here. The game's going to start in 5 minutes. Did I ever tell you that story? I can just see Jim Thome doing that when he was 8 years old. Just absolutely priceless. One of my favorite people to ever play the game.
All right, Dad. The Alpha Best is a difficult one. And let me just say, there isn't a conversation with my dad that doesn't involve the podcast at some point. We'll be talking about McKinley, how she did at swim lessons, and then he'll say, I can't even do Alpha Best for W Best Position Player. It's going to drive me nuts. And then all of a sudden we're talking about the podcast. But here we are, letter W. Let's start with our best position player to have the last name starting with W.
All right, I'm going with Ted Williams, but I do
Good
need
choice.
to acknowledge, and I'm comfortable with Ted Williams, but Hannes Wagner deserves a shout out here. He was the first great superstar position player of the 20th century. He was a great defensive shortstop. He could fly. He got well over 3,000 hits. He hit with great power. He was the Flying Dutchman was his nickname, Jeff. And, he weighed 190 pounds about 125 years ago. And he even has a higher WAR, which I don't usually reference, than Ted Williams. So anyone who votes here for Hannes Wagner, I'm going to say go ahead. It's not a bad choice. But I'm going with Ted Williams because Ted Williams, for me, is the greatest left fielder ever. After Babe Ruth, he's the greatest hitter ever for me. And Jeff, never forget, his career OPS is 1.116. So the only active player that has had even one season to match Ted Williams' career OPS is Aaron Judge. So Shohei Ohtani, who's an amazing player, an amazing hitter, has never had a single season OPS that can match Ted Williams' career OPS. Does that make sense to you?
No, it doesn't. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but it doesn't make sense. To think about just how legendary of a hitter he was. It's incredible. And Dad, I want you, in spirit of Ted Williams, to tell the story with Pedro Martinez. I think that's one of my favorite stories. Or is it the All-Star game when he was talking to all the pitchers and batter and they were...
Well, it was the same day.
It was the same day. Good point. Right.
Jeff, they honored him at Fenway 1999 All-Star game as the greatest hitter of all time. And Ted is wheeled out to the mound in a wheelchair, and the players huddle around him, and they're like afraid to talk to him because it's Ted Williams. But it was Tony Gwynn and Cal Ripken that said, we got to go talk to Ted. So he talked to all these players. Then, of course, Pedro, and all those players knew this, Jeff, that if Ted Williams were playing in that All-Star game in his prime, he would have been the best hitter on the field. And that's, for me, that's a fact. And I don't think you can say that about other sports. But the point is, in that game, Pedro Martinez went out and pitched 2 innings, struck out 5 of the 6 batters he faced. Nobody had a chance. He went into the clubhouse after his 2 innings, and Ted Williams was in there. And he looked at Pedro Martinez and said, that is some of the greatest pitching I have ever seen in my life. And Ted hated pitchers for obvious reasons. And Pedro still calls that like the highlight of his career, that this amazing man, this incredible hitter, would say something like that to him after his All-Star appearance. That's Ted Williams for you. And I'm going to tell you one more story, which I'm sure I told you, Jeff.
Please.
But Uncle Andy, your Uncle Andy, who's now 73 years old, great college baseball player in his day, was the ball boy down one of the left or right field line for more than a few Washington Senators games. And he actually took batting practice. He didn't hit, but he was in the field shagging balls. And Ted Williams, as the manager of the Senators in 1969, steps into the cage and hits a rocket line drive. And Andy leaps up, my brother, and
No.
catches it. And Ted Williams screams out, "We got to sign that kid." You know when Uncle Andy told me that story, Jeff? 2 years ago. He waited 71 years before he told his dopey little brother who cares about one thing in the world, baseball. I said, Panda, how could you bury the lead after all those years? How could you not tell me that? And he just said, I didn't think it was important. So, well, it was to me. So there we go.
All right, Dad.
All right,
W
Jeff,
for
our
Alpha Best
W-
pitcher.
Pitcher, there's Big Ed Walsh, there's Rue Waddell, there's Mickey Wright, there are a few other Hall of Famers, but I'm going with Early Wynn. Early Wynn is a Hall of Famer, of course, made the All-Star team 9 times, won a Cy Young, won an ERA title, won 20 games, 5 different times. He won exactly 300 games. So I'm going with Early Wynn. So our W's are Ted Williams and Early Wynn. Next week, Jeff, remember, we have X, and we're only going to go with first names on X because no one with a last name of X has ever played in the major leagues. And when we're done after X, Y, and Z, we're going to continue the competition and come up with which letter was the best letter of combination of pitcher and hitter. Like, again, Hank Aaron and Grover Cleveland Alexander, right? Willie Mays and Greg Maddux, Babe Ruth and Nolan Ryan. I mean, these are
the dangerous letters.
We're going to have our really clever and really observant listeners and friends vote on this and see, because we're going to have like a little Final Four kind of thing and go through the matchups and see who wins in the end. It will be so subjective, but it'll be fun. So those are the W's.
All right, Dad, I see you grabbing the cards for 3 cards in the bathroom. This is where my dad goes down to the basement bathroom that's decorated with baseball attire. It's the only thing that survived my mom's takeover of the basement after the kids left. The bathroom is still baseball. Which cards do you have?
Okay, we're going to start with Dante Bichette. Of course, he is the father of Bo Bichette, the third baseman for the New York Mets. Dante Bichette, in his prime with the Rockies, was a great hitter. And I'll never forget this, Jeff. I wrote a story on him for Sports Illustrated. And he told me during that story, in the prime of his career, he said, every day I come to the ballpark, I wonder, is today the last day that I'll be able to hit in the big leagues? He really believed that. And he was in the prime of his career. That's how hard this game is to play. And maybe it was just his defense mechanism to make sure he showed up and did his work properly and was prepared and everything else. But that's what actually went through his mind. Is today the day that I can't hit anymore? I just don't think a great NBA jump shooter goes to the arena and wonders, God, I wonder if I'll be able to make a 3 today. Never enters his mind. Never enters the quarterback's mind. Do you think I can throw the out route today? I don't think so. But only in baseball. Agreed?
Yeah, and I think it just goes to show there are probably more players, respectfully to the game, that are thinking that every day nowadays because of how hard the pitching is to hit. I can't imagine how these players are feeling.
Right. All right, number 2 is Doug DeCenso, another one of my favorite guys, really short. Doug is probably 5'7", maybe even shorter. And he was a good little outfielder. He could run Cubs and others. And he back in the day, Jeff, when we would have a position player pitch like twice a year. Now we have like 7 times a week, and I'm not exaggerating. It's just ridiculous how many position players pitch these days. Well, Doug DeCenso pitched, and I asked him, like, tell me about pitching, and he goes, well, I really was a short reliever tonight. That's how he presented it. Yeah.
That's
so
amazing.
That was very healthy that he would think that way.
If there's one family that understands and loves short humor more than any, it's the Kurkjian family. So I'm here for that.
And another one of my favorites, the late Joaquin Andujar, who how many times do we talk today about the unpredictable nature of baseball, Jeff? Like, half a dozen times at least. And Joaquin understood that better than most. And he once famously said, "You can sum up baseball in one word. You never know." So he took 3 words and turned it into 1 word.
You never know.
And we all understood exactly what that meant. Joaquin Andujar and Gary Peters, by the way, 2 guys who pitched, I don't know, around 2,000 innings in their major league career, never gave up a grand slam. Of course, neither did Jim Palmer, but Andujar and Gary Peters hit a grand slam, but never gave up one. How cool is that, Jeff? That is very cool.
That is
so.
Really
That's
neat.
the 3 cards in the bathroom for today.
Well, before we wrap up today's episode with a great Team Tim in celebration of back to school for our kids, the only people celebrating are mom and dad right now, but, we can celebrate nonetheless. Trust me, this is the first time I've been in a neighborhood with a lot of kids. I've talked to a couple parents whose kids go to school, and they're looking at me like, I can't wait for them to go back. It's been a long summer. But nonetheless, make sure you subscribe, you like, you comment wherever you're listening or watching right now to help us out with the podcast. Okay, Dad, Team Tim, back to school.
All right. Well, I had to come up with the back to school edition since it completely dominated our week. There are a bunch of stretches in here, Jeff, but come on. It's the first week of school for kindergartner Carson Keenahan. All right. Our catcher is Jeff Reed, spelled R-E-E-D, but do I have to explain? You have to read and write, okay?
No.
All right. So David Wright is our
perfect.
third baseman.
Right. Write and read.
W-R-I-G-H-T. Josh Bell is our first baseman.
Very
first
good.
Bell for Carson School at 9:30. Shannon Penn is our second baseman. He used pencil. I'm not going to explain every one of these if
Please
they're not
don't.
clear.
Please don't. They're softballs, Dad. We got them.
Right.
We all went to school.
I'm sure you do. Our shortstop is Dave Chalk, which we all know about. I forgot all about this guy, but Nick Buss is one of our outfielders, B-U-S-S. And the bus was like the highlight of the opening week. A kid gets on the bus for the first time. It's great. Jimmy Hall. Of course, there's a hall monitor when you go to school, even when you're a kindergartner. And Roland Office, one of my all-time favorite baseball player names. Right. Jeff, did you ever go to the office when you were a kid? Did you ever get called in the office for doing something wrong?
I confessed this on the radio show just a couple of weeks ago. And the big thing that happened to me was I was called into the principal's office in high school because I was asked to help plan the rest of the pep rally. And the principal brought lunch in for me and her so we could, she's like, it's fine. I'm in charge. You can miss the next 2 classes. And so I skipped class in the principal's office to talk about great things as the class president. So the only time I was really called down there was for that. So I'll take it.
Well, the only time I went, Jeff, I was in, I think, the 4th grade, maybe, in cafeteria, and Mr. Collins, the principal at Ashburn Elementary, came in, and he was very upset with how loud it was in the cafeteria and how many kids were acting up. And I'm not proud of this, Jeff, but it happened. When everything got really quiet, I burped an absolutely epic burp. And Mr. Collins thought I had done it on purpose to mock him. And get this, I got called to the principal's office and I got suspended from the cafeteria for 3 days for burping out loud in front of Mr. Collins.
How did I not know this story that you got suspended?
Well, I got suspended. I had to go home to eat lunch 3 days in a row. And my mother, God bless her, was furious that I would be suspended for an accidental burp. And the kicker is she ended up going to work as the secretary at Ashburn Elementary, worked very closely with Mr. Collins, and she once reminded him, I can't believe you were suspended my son from the cafeteria. Well, he forgot all about it, but I didn't. So that's Roland Office is one of our outfielders. Schoolboy Rowe is one of our pitchers. Bit of a twist. Mike Schooler is one of the pitchers.
Great.
He was a reliever. And Bob Locker was a reliever for several teams. I remember him well. And, you got to have a locker, Jeff, before lunch, after lunch, whatever it is. So that's the all Tim for going back to school.
Well, excited to tell you that next week on the podcast, Mr. Collins to go through and explain exactly what happened in the school cafeteria back in 1967. All right, Dad. Let's get wrapped up here. Thank you again for listening and watching. And as always, thanks for being a part of our family.